Hard Rock Stadium in South Florida, the site, as Notre Dame football is heading back to the national championship for the first time since 2012. I don't know where to begin, so we'll just begin. I'm Dominic Miranda, everybody, with 13Sports, WTHR in Indianapolis, and what a college football playoff semifinal game between Notre Dame and Penn State. You know, the talk coming into this game was how similar these two teams were, and we saw at first hand. There was no margin for error for these two teams. Back and forth they went. It was just a close game all game long, and what more could you possibly ask for in a playoff-type situation? So long the conversation has been, well, there's too many blowouts in college football playoff games. Well, this one wasn't. In fact, it was an instant classic. 27-24 the final, as Notre Dame's kicker, Mitch Jeter, drills a 40-yard field goal in the waning moments to push Notre Dame to the national championship for the first time in 12 years. I guess it would be 13 because it's 2025 now. It was a lot of fun at Hard Rock Stadium. So how did we get here? Okay, well, the first half did not go Notre Dame's way. Penn State ran all over the Irish, and that's not something Notre Dame is accustomed to experiencing, especially not this season, but that's kind of Notre Dame's identity. Defense first, running the football, and Penn State dominated the trenches early on in this football game. The two-headed monster in the backfield was running all over them. They had two drives back-to-back near the end of that first half where they ran 29 plays and scored 10 points, I believe. 14 plays ending in a field goal, 15 plays, 75 yards, and over 7 minutes of game time to push the lead to 10-3 in favor of the Nittany Lions. But that lead felt far greater than just 7 points. Notre Dame's offense was barely on the field. Riley Leonard threw a crucial interception in the first half that kind of really put the momentum in Penn State's favor. For a lot of that first half, it was two heavyweight fighters, right, feeling each other out. It was scoreless at the end of the first quarter. Penn State finally got on the board in the second quarter with that field goal I mentioned earlier to make it 3-0. Notre Dame wasn't getting anything going on offense. Jeremiah Love was back for this team in the Notre Dame backfield. He was kind of a game-time decision. Marcus Freeman told us yesterday he would be good to go, and he certainly played a lot more than we thought, but Notre Dame struggled offensively to get anything going in that first half. Riley Leonard threw a bad interception, and I got to tell you what, especially in that first half, but all game long, Abdul Carter, defensive end for the Penn State Nittany Lions, was all over the field. He was another guy who was battling injury. Weren't sure if he was going to play. James Franklin said it was going to be a game-time decision. And boy, he didn't look like a guy who was injured. That is a first-round draft pick if I've ever seen it. He was giving Riley Leonard nightmares in the Notre Dame backfield. Emil Wagner, Notre Dame's right tackle, just seemingly couldn't block him. He was in the backfield causing mayhem, a game changer. You can see why Penn State fans and this Penn State football team needed him to play in this football game. So it's 10-3 Penn State going into the halftime break, and it was clear Notre Dame needed to make adjustments. Offensively, couldn't move the football, getting too cute running it with Riley Leonard. I love the way Notre Dame runs their quarterback, Riley Leonard. It is a weapon offensively, but they were just getting too cute. A little too many screen passes maybe. Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price weren't getting anything going in that backfield, and just a lot more questions than answers on that first half offensively. Defensively, like I said, Penn State had 141 rushing yards in the first half. Notre Dame doesn't allow 100-yard rushers against them in a game, let alone 141 rushing yards in one half alone. Adjustments were needed going into the halftime break. But here's the key that happened in that first half, at the end of that first half. Riley Leonard gets thrown to the ground. He was taking hits all game long. This was a physical football game. Two elite defenses in the landscape of college football, two teams who love running the football. They pride themselves on the trenches, both of these teams. Okay, so Riley Leonard gets thrown to the turf. He gets up a little wobbly. Ref sees it. You're out. Concussion protocol. Goes into the tent. Backup quarterback for the Irish, Steve Angeli, Peanut Butter Angeli, they like to call him in South Bend, comes in, moves the ball down the field. Notre Dame, Mitch Jeter, the hero at the end of the game, puts in a field goal to make it 10-3 at the halftime break. That was huge to make it a one-possession game. Notre Dame gets the ball out of that halftime break. They score out of that halftime break, 8 plays, 75 yards in just 4 minutes. Aeneas Williams Another great running back for this Notre Dame team, a true freshman. 2 huge plays on that drive. A 36-yard reception. Riley Leonard put it on the money. Leonard, by the way, 15 of 23, 223 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. We'll get to that later one. But Aeneas Williams, the freshman, 36-yard reception, followed it up with a 15-yard rush that really got that drive going. Notre Dame punches it in. Riley Leonard, a 3-yard touchdown a little bit later. And now we're feeling good. We're tied at 10. This is a brand new ball game. You felt it in the stadium. Notre Dame fans back in it. They were shell-shocked that first half. Notre Dame got punched in the mouth like they haven't gotten punched in the mouth since week 2 against Northern Illinois. We won't talk about that because, hey, the Irish are going to the national championship. But it's 10-10, and then the offenses seemingly exploded. Notre Dame, another great drive after that, looking here to start the second quarter. It's 10-10 to start the fourth quarter. It's 10-10. You know the final score, 27-24. A ton of points in that fourth quarter. Jeremiah Love, remember how he was injured? Broke 4 tackles on his way to the end zone, a short touchdown run to make it 17-10. So now we're feeling good, right? Notre Dame 17-10 with not much time, but I want to say just over 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes to go in the game. All of a sudden, Penn State right down the field. I want to say a 4-minute drive, making it 17-17. Okay, didn't know Penn State was going to respond like that. They were kind of knocked on their butt a little bit. Notre Dame regained that momentum, 17-17. Then this is where Irish fans thought maybe the game was in hand. Riley Leonard throws a bad interception. The first play, that ensuing drive, tied 17-17. Penn State intercepts it, proceeds to score 24-17 with 7 minutes and 55 seconds to go. Not feeling good if you're a Notre Dame fan because of the way your offense has sputtered. Played definitely better in the second half. Wasn't feeling good about that. Thought maybe this was it. Curtains time for Notre Dame. Not to mention Riley Leonard went out with the concussion scare. He came back into the game. I forgot to mention that second half, so he was all good to go. 2 offensive linemen went down for Notre Dame. This is an already beat-up football team. They lost their starting left tackle to start the season. They lost Jordan Botelho. They lost Benjamin Morrison, the best cornerback in the country. They lost Boubacar Traore. They lost Riley Mills in the IU game ahead of the Georgia game, who was playing the best football he's ever played. 7.5 sacks when he went out. One of the best defensive linemen in the country. This is a beat-up football team. It felt like it was too many injuries to overcome for this Notre Dame football team. 24-17, Penn State leads with 7:55 to go. Notre Dame's working it down the field. And the play of the game, arguably, outside of the game-winning field goal, a 54-yard reception. Riley Leonard hits a wide-open Jaden Grayhouse. I'm not even sure if I know still right now what happened. If the cornerback fell, if it was a blown coverage, 54 yards to the house, broke a defensive back's ankles. We're tied up again. You can't make it up. We're tied up again. At this time, my photographer and I went down to the field, and we saw what transpired then. Penn State gets the ball back. They're forced to punt. Here's the situation. 24 up, 2 minutes to go. A trip to the national title on the line. This is what dreams are made of. The tension you could cut with a knife. Nobody in Hard Rock Stadium was sitting down, myself included. Notre Dame works it down the field, forced to punt. I want to say over a minute to play. Penn State runs a play. Next play, Drew Aller throws an interception to Christian Gray. Christian Gray has had one of these seasons for Notre Dame at the cornerback spot, a depleted cornerback spot, by the way. Was getting beat like a drum in the USC game, made the biggest play of the game, a pick 6 to seal it. Notre Dame didn't allow one catch from a Penn State receiver this game. Think about that. It was all the tight end, maybe a first-round draft pick in Tyler Warren, and the running game for Penn State. Drew Aller tries to fit one in. Christian Gray picks it off under a minute to go in plus territory. Now Notre Dame fans can feel it. Are we really about to punch our ticket to the national title? You know what happens next. Notre Dame gets a first down. They run the clock down to about 7 seconds. And Mitch Jeter, the biggest kick of his life, he was 3 for 3 against Georgia. I think he was 3 for 3 against Indiana as well. 2 for 2 tonight. You can't make it up. What a kick, 40 yards for the win. Notre Dame did have to kick it then, and Penn State had to run a couple plays, but 27-24, your final. So that's kind of how the game went. What does this mean for Notre Dame? You know, Brian Kelly left Notre Dame high and dry 3 years ago. said he wanted to give himself the best chance to win a national championship. Said Notre Dame shops down a different aisle. Says the academic prowess of that university was too much to overcome athletically, especially on the football field. Marcus Freeman came in having never been a head coach. He struggled in year one, lost to Ohio State, lost to Marshall. Last year, lost to lost to Clemson, lost to, had big losses. That first year, hard to overcome. We chalked it up to hasn't been a head coach before. Young guy, hasn't been a head coach before. Having your first head coaching position be Notre Dame is quite the task. Last year, it was a disappointment. You brought Sam Hartman in. You thought you were going to have good success. You lost all 3 big games you played in. The Louisville one, tough to overcome, right? The Clemson one late in the season, curtains for this team in a major bowl game. They went into this year knowing year 3 could be what it's all about. Lou Holtz, national championship in year 3. Brian Kelly, national championship appearance in year 3. When that Northern Illinois loss happened in week 2, Notre Dame fans started to wonder, what is this going to look like? Can Marcus Freeman do this job? He's proceeded to win 13 straight games with this team, and now they've punched their ticket to the national championship for the first time since 2012. And remember, in that 2012 national championship, I think everyone in the country knew Notre Dame wasn't winning that game, and they showed it. They got rocked against Alabama in that game. This program hasn't won a national championship since 1988 under the legendary Lou Holtz. To think of how far they've come to get to this point, not only in the grand scheme of their program, but battling injuries all throughout the season. I mean, listen to those guys I named again. Charles Jagasaw in training camp, starting left tackle, out for the season. Jordan Botello against Purdue. Ashton Craig against Purdue. Billy Schrouth against Purdue. Now he came back. Boubacar Traore later on in the season, coming on as a great part of this defense. Benjamin Morrison is the best cornerback in the country. He's going to be probably one of, if not the highest drafted cornerback in this upcoming NFL draft. Out for the season. It just keeps piling up for this team. Riley Mills out for the season. To overcome what they've overcome and not miss a beat as far as quality of play goes speaks volumes about the culture in that locker room and the culture that Marcus Freeman has cultivated in a college football landscape that doesn't promote culture in the era of NIL, in the era of the transfer portal, instant gratification. If you don't like what your circumstance is, you can go to another school. And after that, at that school, if you don't like it, you can go to another school. There's no limit. No guys have entered the transfer portal for Notre Dame. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about. 13 straight wins, beating Penn State in an instant classic. They hadn't had a major bowl victory since 1994. They've had 2 in the span of a week. The Sugar Bowl win over Georgia and this insane Orange Bowl win over Penn State. Notre Dame will play the winner of Ohio State and Texas. That will be going on when you watch this today. We'll see. Ohio State's playing like one of the best teams in the country. That would certainly be a great matchup. Ohio State, Notre Dame, 2 great brands. Ohio State, Texas, 2 great brands. It will be a great national championship no matter how you slice it. But Notre Dame's going to Atlanta with a chance to win a national championship for the first time since 1988. Notre Dame fans didn't think this was possible. It's possible. An instant classic win over Penn State here at Hard Rock Stadium in the Orange Bowl, and now we'll see what happens next week in Atlanta. It was quite the scene at Hard Rock Stadium. So that's how the game went. This is what that means to Notre Dame's football program. I'm getting the wrap sign from my photographer, producer extraordinaire. The last thing I will mention to you, the atmosphere here at Hard Rock Stadium is one I won't soon forget. Like I mentioned earlier, no fan was sitting the entire game. All 2 days before this game that we were here in Fort Lauderdale and Miami Beach, we're all over the place. So many Notre Dame and Penn State fans. And the Notre Dame fans we talked to said, it's different. I think it's different. It feels different with Marcus Freeman at the helm. It feels like we can do this. This isn't a fluke. We can hang with the big boys. We out-physicaled Georgia, okay? We have the athletes that Penn State has. We have the plums, the athletes. Everything you could ask for to compete with the likes of Ohio State, Texas, Georgia. It's really special to see because you could feel how badly the Notre Dame fans we spoke to over the course of this week wanted this. And you can see how badly Marcus Freeman wants this. He recently said, him and Pete Bavacqua, the Notre Dame athletic director, said they have an obsession with winning a national championship. Now, the Irish are 1 win away from completing an otherwise thought not possible goal. It's really remarkable to see how far this program has come, because those fans, this program was told they can't for so long. And they couldn't, to be fair. They couldn't win the big game. But here they are, 2 straight games, beating an SEC champion and a Big Ten powerhouse. And now they'll play Texas or Ohio State to win a national championship. I keep saying it over and over. You don't have to pinch yourself, Irish fans. This is real life. It's not the luck of the Irish. Your team has the capability to get this done. The atmosphere at Hard Rock Stadium was insane. It was incredibly loud. I'll be honest, there were more Penn State fans. There's a lot of white in the stands, and I got to tell you, those fans are passionate as well. Getting a lot of "we are Penn State, we are Penn State, we are Penn State." You say it 3 times, and then you say thank you. You're welcome. I never knew that part. But it was fun to interact with all the fans here, the Notre Dame and Penn State fans, and I just can't stress enough again how crazy this game was. I have to do a highlight package here for TV on Friday morning. I don't know where to start. I got 12 highlights marked, and that's just bare minimum. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch what happens next week in Atlanta. Again, Notre Dame plays the winner of Ohio State or Texas. Maybe you'll know by the time you watch this, but so much fun in South Florida. A wonderful host for the Orange Bowl. Notre Dame Sugar Bowl champs, Orange Bowl champs. No, they're not in a conference, James Franklin, but they're going to the national title. That's how we'll wrap it here in South Florida. I'm Dominic Miranda, 13 Sports, WTHR, Indianapolis. Be sure to watch the press conference. We'll put it on WTHR Plus and YouTube as well. The full-length post-game press conference with Marcus Freeman, Riley Leonard, and Christian Gray, the man who picks off Drew Aller to give Notre Dame ultimately the win. Enough of me talking. Notre Dame's going dancing. They're going to Atlanta and playing for a national title. That wraps it up. See you next time.